Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. Being beautiful might turn his head, but being unforgettable will keep his eyes on you. Start with a punch. Let the audience know this isn't about being liked. It's about being respected, remembered, and wanted. Why they need to keep watching? Because too many women are bending over backwards for men who wouldn't even cross the street for them. This speech will teach them how to flip the game, how to stand in their power, walk with confidence, and become the kind of woman no man dares to overlook. Not for his sake, but for their own. Let me tell you something right now. Being beautiful might turn his head, but being unforgettable will keep his eyes on you. That's real talk. A lot of women are out here thinking they've got to look a certain way, dress a certain way, say all the right things just to get a man's attention. But attention is easy. You can get attention just by walking in the room. You can get attention from a post, a smile, a dress. That part, that's not hard. But keeping it, holding it, becoming the kind of woman a man can't ignore, no matter how many other women he sees, no matter how busy life gets, no matter how long it's been, that's where the real power is. And that don't come from your looks, that comes from your presence. See, when I say, become the woman he can't ignore, I'm not talking about becoming clingy. I'm not talking about texting him 20 times or posting thirst traps hoping he notices. That's noise, that's desperation. And trust me, a man can smell that energy from a mile away. He might entertain it for a minute, but he won't stay. Why? Because men don't commit to pressure. They commit to presence. That unforgettable presence comes from within. It's how you carry yourself. It's how you walk into a room with your head high, like you don't need validation because you've already given it to yourself. It's when you know what you bring to the table and you're not afraid to eat alone if you have to. That kind of woman, she leaves a mark. And I'm not just talking about with men. I'm talking about in rooms, in circles, in careers, in life. You feel her. She doesn't have to say much. Her energy does the talking. Now, why am I saying all this? Why does it matter? Because too many women are playing small to fit into a man's idea of enough. They're shrinking themselves, dimming their light, accepting half, effort love just so they won't be alone. But let me ask you something. What's worse? Being alone or feeling invisible while standing next to someone who's supposed to see you. If you have to keep reminding him who you are, he's not the one. If you have to keep chasing him to notice your value, then he's not looking for a woman, he's looking for control. That's why I want you to become the woman he can't ignore. And not for him, for you. Because when you start to walk in your full worth, when you stop lowering your standards to meet someone else's comfort, the right people, the right man, the right opportunities, they notice. They have to. You shine too bright to be overlooked. Let's be real. The kind of woman a man can't ignore is the one who isn't afraid to walk away. She's not loud. She's not doing the most. She's just sure. Sure of who she is, what she wants, and what she won't tolerate. She's the kind of woman who doesn't beg for love. She attracts it. Because her love starts with herself. Men are wired to notice strength. Not just outer strength, but inner strength. A woman who knows herself and holds herself to a higher standard is rare. And what's rare gets attention, not for a moment, but for the long run. The truth is, you don't have to compete with anyone. You don't have to change who you are to fit into some man's box. You just have to step fully into who you were meant to be. Unapologetically, confidently, and consistently. That's how you become unforgettable. So yes, your beauty might stop him for a second, but your spirit, that's what haunts him in the best way. That's what keeps him thinking about you when you're not around. That's what makes him realize that no matter how many people he meets, there's only one you. And that's what this is about. It's not about doing more, it's about being more of your real, powerful, one-of-a-kind self. Don't settle for being noticed. Become the woman he can't ignore, because you finally stopped ignoring your own power. Don't chase him, elevate you. That right there is one of the biggest mindset shifts a woman can make when it comes to love, relationships, and life. Because let's be honest, chasing a man never ends the way you want it to. You might get his attention for a minute. You might get him to respond to a few texts. Maybe he'll even show up for a date or two. But if you have to chase him to keep him, you're already in the wrong position. That's not love, that's a job. And baby, love is not supposed to feel like a full-time hustle. The truth is, chasing a man takes you out of your power. You start focusing so much on what he's doing, where he's going, who he's talking to, whether he's feeling it or not, that you forget about you. You start adjusting, rearranging, holding back your truth just to keep him close. You become so busy trying to get him to see your value that you stop acting like you even have value. And that's where you lose yourself. But when you flip it, when you stop chasing him and start elevating you, everything changes. When you focus that same energy on your growth, your healing, your goals, your peace, your joy, your money, your body, your purpose, you shift the entire game. Because now you're not begging to be chosen. You're choosing yourself, and nothing makes a woman more powerful or more magnetic than that. You ever notice how men always come running back the moment you stop trying, the moment you go quiet, the moment you stop texting first, the moment you get back to minding your own business? Suddenly he's checking in. Suddenly he misses you. That's not a coincidence. That's attraction realigning itself, because nothing draws a man's attention more than a woman who is focused on becoming the best version of herself, with or without him. Elevating yourself doesn't mean you don't want love. It just means you're not going to lower yourself to get it. It means you understand that any relationship worth having will never require you to abandon your dignity. It means you know that real love will meet you where you are. It won't expect you to chase it down like it's running away from you. Let's get something straight. You are not hard to love. You are not too much. You are not asking for too much. You've just been pouring energy into the wrong places, into men who don't even know what to do with a woman like you. And that's not your failure. That's your wake-up call. Stop probing. Start evolving. Let your progress speak louder than your pain. When you elevate, you stop explaining yourself to people who aren't listening. You stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. You stop letting your heart sit in rooms where your spirit isn't respected. You create standards, and you keep them. Not to be difficult, not to play games, but because you finally realize what you're worth. And when you do that, the right man will not only notice, he'll rise to meet you. Because high-value women don't chase, they attract. They set the tone. They build the life they want. And if a man wants to be part of it, he's going to have to come correct. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about being hard to forget. It's about becoming so in love with your own life, so aligned with your own growth, that anyone who wants to be close to you has to bring peace, value, and consistency, or keep it moving. That's how you protect your energy. That's how you stop repeating old cycles. That's how you heal. So no, don't chase him. You were never meant to. You're not the hunter. You're the crown. You're the woman who's working on herself, loving herself, walking in purpose. And a man who sees that, a real one, he won't make you chase, he'll chase you. Because when you elevate, everything that's meant for you will rise to meet you. Let him see you shine. Let him watch you grow. But don't ever lose yourself trying to get him to notice. Level up and let him catch up. Set the standard, then stick to it. That right there is the difference between a woman who gets played and a woman who gets respected. Because let me tell you something, every single time you lower your standard just to keep a man around, you're teaching him exactly how to treat you. And the more you bend, the more he'll expect you to break. But a woman who sets the standard and actually holds to it is the kind of woman a man can't help but pay attention to. She becomes the kind of woman he can't play with, can't walk over, and definitely can't forget. Now don't get it twisted. Setting a standard doesn't mean being mean, or having a long list of demands, or acting like you're better than everybody. Setting a standard means knowing what you deserve and refusing to accept less than that. It means having boundaries and not apologizing for them. It means being clear on how you expect to be loved, talked to, supported, and treated, and not letting someone slide just because they're cute, charming, or saying all the right things. The problem is too many women set the standard and then throw it out the window the second a man shows them a little bit of attention. At first, they're clear, I don't do disrespect. I want consistency. I'm not into games. But the moment that man starts sweet, talking, sending late night texts, or acting distant and then popping back up, they shift. They start thinking, well, maybe he just needs time, or maybe I'm being too harsh, or at least he's not as bad as the last one. That's how the line gets moved. That's how you slowly start accepting less and calling it love. But here's the truth. Every time you let someone cross a line you said you wouldn't allow, you lose a little bit of your power. And people can feel that. A man will always test the limit, whether it's intentional or not. He wants to know, how far can I go before she checks me? How serious is she about what she said she wants? And if you let him keep pushing past your boundaries with no consequences, he learns that your standards are just suggestions, not requirements. But when you hold that line, when you say, I don't tolerate disrespect, and then actually don't tolerate it, something shifts. That man starts to understand, this isn't a woman I can play with. This isn't someone I can breadcrumb. This isn't someone who's going to let me show up half-hearted and still have full access to her. She means what she says. That kind of woman demands respect without having to raise her voice, because her actions speak loud enough. And let's be real, setting a standard and sticking to it isn't always easy. Sometimes it means walking away from someone you really wanted. Sometimes it means being alone longer than you expected. Sometimes it means letting go of potential, because you know you can't build a relationship off maybes and promises. But it's worth it, because when you hold your standard, you protect your peace. You protect your energy. You make space for the kind of love that doesn't require you to shrink or settle. And here's the best part. When the right man comes along, you won't have to keep reminding him of your standards. He'll already see them in how you carry yourself. He'll notice the way you speak, the way you move, the way you don't chase, beg, or tolerate nonsense. And the right man, he'll rise to meet that. Because real men aren't intimidated by standards. They're challenged by them. They respect them. They want to earn their place in your life, not slide into it because you made it too easy. So if you're tired of being ignored, played, or taken for granted, check your standards and check whether you're sticking to them. Because it's not just about what you expect, it's about what you enforce. And once you make it clear that you're not here to settle, you become the kind of a woman a man can't help but notice. Not because you're loud, not because you're chasing, but because your energy says, I know what I bring, and I'm not afraid to walk away if you can't match it. Set the standard. Then stand on it like your future depends on it, because it does. Bring peace, not pressure, but don't settle for less. That's the sweet spot. That's where your power is. Because a real woman knows how to create calm in a man's life, not chaos. But at the same time, she also knows that just because she's peaceful doesn't mean she's a pushover. Just because she's not yelling doesn't mean she's not serious. Just because she's soft doesn't mean she'll accept less than she deserves. That's the balance a high-value woman walks with. She's gentle, but she's firm. She's loving, but she's not foolish. She's kind, but she's not blind. See, some people think being peaceful means staying quiet when something bothers you, or not speaking up to avoid drama, but that's not peace. That's suppression. Real peace isn't about avoiding conflict at all costs. Real peace is knowing how to communicate without turning every conversation into a war. It's knowing how to bring clarity instead of confusion. It's being a safe space, but not a doormat. A man who's looking for something real, something lasting, isn't searching for someone who adds stress to his life. He's looking for someone who can match his ambition, steady his spirit, and support his vision. That doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It means you know how to show up with presence, not pressure. You know how to check in without checking up. You know how to ask questions without making accusations. That's peace. That's what makes a man stay, not because he has to, but because he wants to. But don't get it twisted. Bringing peace does not mean accepting disrespect, inconsistency, or confusion just to keep things cool. Being peaceful isn't about keeping quiet while someone gives you half of what you deserve. Being peaceful isn't about lowering your standards to avoid being too much. No. Being peaceful means you stay calm while standing your ground. It means you can say, "This isn't enough for me," without yelling. It means you can walk away with your head high without throwing a fit when someone won't meet your energy. That's what makes you powerful. Because the most unforgettable women are the ones who can hold both grace and grit. They know how to let a man lead, but only if he's going somewhere worth following. They know how to love deeply, but they don't lose themselves in the process. They don't use manipulation or guilt to get what they want. They use boundaries. They use self-respect. They use silence when needed and words when it matters. The truth is, any man can find a woman who brings pressure. There's pressure everywhere. Pressure to commit, pressure to change, pressure to perform. But not every man finds a woman who brings peace. A woman who knows who she is, who creates emotional safety, who listens, who uplifts, who doesn't need to tear him down to feel strong. That kind of woman, that's rare. And when a man finds her, he feels it instantly, because real peace is felt, not forced. Now, let me be clear. Bringing peace doesn't mean you become the emotional caretaker of a grown man. You are not here to fix him, babysit him, or heal all the wounds he refuses to deal with. You are not his therapist, and you are not responsible for his growth. But your energy can be an environment where growth is welcomed, not demanded. That's the difference. You don't carry his weight, but you also don't add to it. And while you're bringing peace, never forget that you deserve peace in return. Don't pour into someone who drains you. Don't invest where there's no return. Don't be the calm in his storm if he's the reason you can't sleep at night. You can be loving and still walk away. You can be kind and still say no. You can bring peace and still require effort. That's the standard you set. You're not going to yell, chase, or beg, but you're also not going to tolerate breadcrumbs and excuses. You want a man who brings you the same emotional maturity and stability that you bring him, someone who knows how to communicate, how to show up, how to give just as much as they receive. So yes, bring peace, not pressure, but don't you dare settle for less than what you know you deserve. Because when you find that balance, when you can be soft without being silent, when you can be peaceful without being passive, you become the woman no man ever wants to lose. Not because you made him feel afraid, but because you made him feel safe. And that kind of love, that kind of energy, that's unforgettable. You become unforgettable when you become unavailable to nonsense. That's the truth right there. Not when you change how you look, not when you learn how to cook his favorite meal, not when you twist yourself into knots trying to become what he wants. No, you become the woman he can't stop thinking about the moment you decide you're done wasting time, energy, and emotion on people and situations that don't serve you. That's when everything changes. That's when your presence becomes powerful, because you've stopped accepting the bare minimum and started walking like a woman who knows exactly what she brings to the table. Let's keep it real. Nonsense comes in many forms. It can be a man who only texts you when he's bored. It can be someone who keeps playing mind games, 1 minute hot, the next minute cold. It can be someone who wants all your attention, but none of the responsibility. And the problem is, a lot of women keep entertaining that nonsense because deep down, they're hoping it'll turn into something more. They're hoping if they wait just a little longer, love will show up. But love doesn't grow in confusion. Respect doesn't grow in inconsistency. And peace doesn't grow in places where you're always questioning your worth. The moment you become unavailable to that kind of energy, the moment you stop responding to breadcrumbs, ghosting, and half-hearted efforts, is the moment you start leveling up. You stop being one of many and start being one of one. Because most people don't realize how powerful their no is. You don't need to scream, argue, or beg. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is go silent. Stop showing up for people who never show up for you. Stop giving attention to what drains you. Stop letting your emotions be played with like they don't matter. Because when you do that, you send a clear message. I don't do nonsense. I don't settle. I don't stick around where I'm not valued. And that energy, that's unforgettable. Because we live in a world where everybody is chasing attention, trying to be liked, trying to be accepted. But when you step back and say, I don't need to be in every room, I just need to be in the right one, people notice. Men notice, especially the ones who thought they could come and go as they pleased, especially the ones who thought you'd always be there no matter how little they gave. Suddenly, your absence gets loud. Suddenly, your silence becomes the thing they can't ignore, because you took your power back. Now let me be clear, being unavailable to nonsense doesn't mean building walls so high nobody can get in. It means having boundaries. It means being intentional about where you invest your heart. It means being wise enough to recognize when something isn't right for you and strong enough to walk away from it. Even if it looks good, even if it used to feel good, because a mature woman knows if it costs her peace, her self-respect, or her joy, the price is too high. This version of you doesn't chase. She doesn't beg for clarity. She doesn't compete. She doesn't try to prove herself to someone who isn't giving effort. She's focused. She's aligned. She knows her worth, and she protects it like it's sacred, because it is. And when a man meets this version of you, he knows instantly that he can't come with the same tired excuses. He either levels up or he loses access. That's what makes you stand out. That's what makes you unforgettable. And don't think this kind of strength goes unnoticed. Even the ones who fumbled you will feel your absence. They'll remember how calm you were, how real you were, how you gave them space to grow, and how you walked away the moment they refused to. Because once a woman makes herself unavailable to nonsense, she becomes a force. She becomes rare, and rare is valuable. So remember this, you don't have to scream to be heard. You don't have to fight to be seen. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply remove yourself, because the moment you stop entertaining nonsense is the moment you start attracting everything that isn't. You become the woman he respects, the woman he remembers, the woman he never forgets, not because you begged for it, but because you demanded it by the way you carried yourself. You're not for everyone, and that's exactly what makes you rare. That right there is your power. See, too many women get caught up trying to be liked by everybody, trying to fit into every room, please every man, tone themselves down just to be accepted. But here's the truth. The woman who's trying to be everything to everyone ends up being nothing to herself. The woman who refuses to water herself down, who embraces who she is, loud, soft, bold, quiet, ambitious, emotional, spiritual, fearless, or flawed, that woman stands out. She may not be for everybody, but the right one. He'll see her and know she's different. And he won't ignore her. When you finally get tired of shrinking, something inside of you clicks. You stop trying to be chosen, and you start choosing yourself. You stop wondering if you're too much and start realizing you were just too much for him. You stop chasing men who only want you when it's convenient and start aligning with those who meet you with clarity and consistency. That's when you start walking like a woman who knows her energy is not to be wasted. And the truth is, your uniqueness is not a weakness. It's your edge. It's what makes you unforgettable. A lot of women are trying to blend in, follow trends, say what they think they're supposed to say, dress how they're expected to dress, post what'll get the most likes. But none of that builds lasting value. The woman who owns her truth, who knows herself deeply and doesn't flinch when someone doesn't get her, that woman becomes magnetic because she isn't shaped by attention. She's grounded in identity. You know what really gets a man's attention? A woman who doesn't flinch when he's slow to call. A woman who doesn't rearrange her whole life for a maybe. A woman who has her own thing going, who doesn't sit around waiting for someone to show up. She's too busy showing up for herself. She's focused, she's healed, she's at peace. That kind of woman isn't worried about who stays or who leaves, because she understands that what's meant for her will never require begging. The moment you realize you're not supposed to be easy to handle, you start walking differently. You stop apologizing for having standards. You stop softening your glow so someone else can feel more comfortable in your light. You stop pretending to be less intelligent, less ambitious, less emotional, just so you don't intimidate someone who doesn't have the capacity to match you. Because here's the thing, real men are not intimidated by a strong woman. They're inspired by her. The ones who get scared off, let them go. They were never built to handle you anyway. And when you walk in this truth, you don't need to chase validation. You don't need to over-explain your worth. The right man sees it. He sees how you move, how you speak, how you honor yourself. And he knows immediately, I better come correct or I'll lose her. Not because you're cold, not because you're playing hard to get, but because you've done the inner work. You've been through enough to know what you will and won't tolerate. You know that your peace is not up for negotiation, and your time is not for games. You become the woman he can't ignore, not by being louder, sexier, more agreeable, but by being you, fully and unapologetically. The woman who isn't worried about competition because she knows there's no competition when you're living in your own lane. The woman who is so sure of herself, she doesn't flinch when someone walks away. She just keeps walking forward, knowing she's not everyone's cup of tea, and being perfectly okay with that. Because when you're rare, you don't blend in, you stand out. And yes, some will walk away, some will misunderstand you, some will try to make you question your value. But the one who's meant for you, the one who's on your level, who's healed, who's ready, he won't just see you, he'll pursue you, because he'll recognize that kind of woman doesn't come around every day. She doesn't chase. She doesn't settle. She doesn't entertain nonsense. She knows she's not for everyone, and that's exactly why she's unforgettable.